Hello, welcome to this exciting Professional Clinical Research Associate Certification course. I congratulate for your best decision by enrolling into this recession-proof career. I assure you that the course will be more productive with lot of practical tips and tools. Without further ado, let's dive into the course. My name is Najmudeen Sulthan. I have 17 years of experience and expertise in clinical research, both drugs and medical device studies, medical affairs, business management, business development, business research and QMS auditing based on GCP audit, ISO 9001, 2015, 13485 to 2016. With more enthusiasm in artificial intelligence technologies, with mission to help aspiring clinical research associates to land in their dream field. You can reach me for any queries at naju143@gmail.com and connect me in LinkedIn too. In this course, you will get step-by-step guide about clinical research and regulations that govern clinical research conduct, practical tips about clinical research associate professions, templates and tools related to this, brief overview of good clinical practices guidelines. It will be the perfect course for the people who wants to break into clinical research associate profession and, for existing clinical research associates who wants to brush up their skills. This course is for the following professionals who wants to break into clinical research associate profession and, for existing clinical research associates who wants to brush up their skills. Medical doctors, with any specialties, PhD holders, dentists, pharmacists, physical therapists, any life science graduates, biomedical engineers. If you look at the course contents, I have divided into several small sections for easy understanding as below. Brief overview of good clinical practice, ICH-GCP, Introduction to Clinical Research, Clinical Research Process, Phases of Clinical Research, Detailed Overview of Clinical Research Associates, Roles and Responsibilities of Clinical Research Associates, Monitoring 101, including step-by-step explanation during pre-qualification of sites and investigators, feasibility, pre-site selection visit, site initiation visit, interim monitoring visits, site closeout visits, essential documents overview, adverse events reporting, progress report submission, explanation about some important topics like site binder, file notes, ALCOA, ECRF, protocol violation. Finally, I have included CV template. Good clinical practice, GCP. Good clinical practice guidelines are the backbone for conducting clinical research. Since we are going to talk throughout all the modules in aligning with GCP guidelines, I strongly encourage to go through this guideline and get familiar with those. And I have provided the downloadable link for GCP guidelines and then some of the potential free GCP courses to enroll and be familiar with it. What is GCP? Good Clinical Practice, GCP, is an international ethical and scientific standard that defines the principles and guidelines for designing, conducting, recording, and reporting clinical trials involving human participants. GCP provides a framework for the conduct of clinical trials that ensures the protection of human rights, safety and well-being, and the integrity of data generated from clinical studies. GCP guidelines cover all aspects of clinical trials, including the selection of study participants, the design of the study protocol, the conduct of the study, the collection and analysis of data, and the reporting of results. The guidelines aim to ensure that clinical trials are conducted in a manner that is scientifically sound, ethical, and consistent with regulatory requirements. GCP guidelines were developed by the International Council for Harmonization of Technical Requirements for Pharmaceuticals for Human Use, ICH, which is a global organization that brings together regulatory authorities and the pharmaceutical industry to develop and promote harmonized guidelines for the development, registration, and post-approval of pharmaceutical products. The guidelines are recognized and adopted by regulatory authorities and industry organizations worldwide. ICH-GCP E6, R2, is the current version of the International Council for Harmonization, ICH, Guideline for Good Clinical Practice, GCP. It was finalized in November 2016 and became effective in June 2017. The revision, R2, updates the original guideline, E6, published in 1996 and includes new recommendations related to technological advances in clinical trials, risk management, and quality management. Difference between good clinical practice and clinical practice. Good clinical practice, GCP, is a set of ethical and scientific quality standards for the design, conduct, recording, and reporting of clinical trials involving human subjects. It provides a framework for ensuring that clinical trials are conducted according to established ethical principles and regulatory requirements, and that the safety and well-being of study participants are protected. GCP guidelines cover all aspects of clinical trial conduct, from trial design to data collection, analysis, and reporting. Clinical practice, on the other hand, refers to the everyday delivery of healthcare services by healthcare professionals. This includes the diagnosis, treatment, and management of patients based on established clinical guidelines, protocols, and standards of care. Clinical practice involves the application of evidence-based medicine to individual patients to optimize their health outcomes. The key difference between GCP and clinical practice is that GCP is specifically designed to ensure the quality, integrity, and reliability of data generated from clinical trials, while clinical practice focuses on the delivery of healthcare services to individual patients. GCP is a set of guidelines and standards that govern the conduct of clinical trials, while clinical practice is a broader term that encompasses all aspects of healthcare delivery. History-of-ICH-GCP guidelines. The concept of good clinical practice, GCP, emerged in the early 20th century, as concerns grew about the ethical and scientific standards of clinical research involving human subjects. The Nuremberg Code, developed after World War II in response to the unethical medical experiments performed on prisoners during the war, established the principles of voluntary consent, minimal risk, and respect for human rights in research involving human subjects. In the 1960s and 1970s, several high-profile scandals involving unethical and poorly designed clinical trials led to increased public awareness of the need for ethical and scientific standards in clinical research. In response, regulatory agencies in the United States and Europe began to develop guidelines for the conduct of clinical trials. The first major international effort to develop harmonized guidelines for the conduct of clinical trials was the International Conference on Harmonization of Technical Requirements for Registration of Pharmaceuticals for Human Use, ICH, established in 1990. The ICH developed the Guideline for Good Clinical Practice, ICH-GCP, which was finalized in 1996 and has been updated several times since then. The ICH-GCP guidelines established a common standard for the conduct of clinical trials worldwide, with a focus on ensuring the safety and well-being of study participants, maintaining data quality and integrity, and ensuring compliance with regulatory requirements. The guidelines have been adopted by regulatory authorities and industry organizations worldwide and are considered the gold standard for clinical trial conduct. Main sections of ICH-GCP E6R2. ICH-GCP E6R2 contains with 8 main sections as below. Section 1 Introduction. This section provides an overview of the purpose and scope of the guideline and explains the changes made in the updated version including glossary. This section provides definitions of key terms used in the guideline. Section 2 Principles of ICH-GCP. This section outlines the fundamental principles of ICH-GCP, including the protection of human rights and the welfare of study subjects, the quality and integrity of the data, and the responsibilities of various parties involved in the trial. Section 3 Institutional Review Board, Independent Ethics Committee, IRB-IEC. This section describes the role and responsibilities of the IRB-IEC in the clinical trial process, including the review and approval of the trial protocol and informed consent document. Section 4 Investigator. This section defines the role and responsibilities of the investigator, including the requirements for qualification, the conduct of the trial, the management of study subjects, and the recording and reporting of data. Section 5 Sponsor. This section outlines the role and responsibilities of the sponsor, including the design and conduct of the trial, the selection of investigators, the monitoring of the trial, and the reporting of adverse events. Section 6 Clinical Trial Protocol and Protocol Amendments. This section provides guidance on the preparation and content of the clinical trial protocol, including the study design, the study population, the procedures for data collection and analysis, and the safety and efficacy endpoints. Section 7 Investigators Brochure. This section describes the content and requirements of the investigator's brochure, which provides the investigator with essential information about the investigational product. Section 8 Essential Documents for the Conduct of a Clinical Trial. This section identifies the essential documents required for the conduct of a clinical trial, including the informed consent document, the case report form, and the trial master file. The 13 Principles of ICH-GCP. First principle. clinical trials should be conducted in accordance with ethical principles that are consistent with the Declaration of Helsinki, and that take into account applicable regulatory requirements. Second principle, before a clinical trial is initiated, foreseeable risks and inconveniences should be weighed against the anticipated benefits for the individual trial subject and society. A clinical trial should be initiated and continued only if the anticipated benefits justify the risks. Third principle, the rights, safety, and well-being of the trial subjects are the most important considerations and should prevail over interests of science and society. Fourth principle, the available non-clinical and clinical information on an investigational product should be adequate to support the proposed clinical trial. Fifth principle, clinical trials should be scientifically sound and should be described in a clear, detailed protocol. Sixth principle, a trial should be conducted in compliance with the protocol that has received prior review and approval by an independent ethics committee, IEC, institutional review board, IRB, and by regulatory authorities, where applicable. Seventh principle, the medical care given to, and medical decisions made on behalf of, subjects should always be the responsibility of a qualified physician or, when appropriate, of a qualified dentist. Eighth principle, each individual involved in conducting a trial should be qualified by education, training, and experience to perform his or her respective tasks. Ninth principle, freely given informed consent should be obtained from every subject prior to clinical trial participation. 10th principle, all clinical trial information should be recorded, handled, and stored in a way that allows its accurate reporting, interpretation, and verification. 11th principle, the confidentiality of records that could identify a subject should be protected, respecting the privacy and confidentiality rules in accordance with the applicable regulatory requirements. 12th principle, investigational products should be manufactured, handled, and stored in accordance with applicable good manufacturing practice, GMP, requirements. They should be used in accordance with the approved protocol. Finally, 13th principle, systems with procedures that assure the quality of every aspect of the trial should be implemented. Institutional Review Board, IRB, Responsibilities. The following are the responsibilities of the IRB as outlined in ICH-GCP. Review and approve the trial protocol, the informed consent form, and any other documents required by the regulatory authority. Ensure that the trial is conducted in accordance with the approved protocol and any applicable laws and regulations. Evaluate the risks and benefits of the trial to the trial subjects and ensure that the benefits outweigh the risks. Ensure that the trial subjects are adequately informed about the trial, including its risks and benefits, and that they provide voluntary and informed consent. Ensure that the trial does not include vulnerable populations, such as children, prisoners, or mentally disabled individuals, without adequate justification and safeguards. Ensure that the selection of trial subjects is fair and that there is no discrimination in the recruitment process. Ensure that the trial is monitored for safety and that any adverse events are reported to the IRB and regulatory authorities as required. Ensure that the trial is conducted by qualified individuals who have the necessary training and experience. Ensure that any conflicts of interest among the investigators, sponsors, or IRB members are disclosed and appropriately managed. Conduct periodic reviews of ongoing trials to ensure that they continue to meet ethical and regulatory requirements. Maintain appropriate records of the IRB's activities and decisions. Ensure that the rights, safety, and welfare of trial subjects are protected at all times. Overall, the IRB plays a crucial role in ensuring that clinical trials are conducted ethically and that the rights and welfare of trial subjects are protected. Investigator qualifications and responsibilities. The following are the qualifications of the investigator as outlined in ICH-GCP. The investigator should be qualified by education, training, and experience to conduct the clinical trial. The investigator should have an appropriate medical or scientific background, and sufficient knowledge of the investigational product, the disease or condition being studied, and the methodology of the clinical trial. The investigator should be familiar with the applicable regulatory requirements and guidelines. The following are responsibilities of the investigator as outlined in ICH-GCP. The investigator is responsible for conducting the clinical trial in accordance with the protocol and any amendments, and in compliance with applicable laws and regulations. The investigator should provide medical care to trial subjects when appropriate, and should always be responsible for medical decisions related to trial subjects. The investigator should obtain informed consent from trial subjects, and should ensure that trial subjects are adequately informed about the trial, including its risks and benefits. The investigator should ensure that trial subjects are eligible to participate in the trial, and that they meet all inclusion and exclusion criteria. The investigator should ensure that trial subjects are appropriately randomized, and that the study is conducted in a blinded manner when appropriate. The investigator should ensure that trial subjects are monitored for safety, and that any adverse events are reported to the IRB and regulatory authorities as required. The investigator should ensure that the investigational product is handled and stored in accordance with applicable regulations and guidelines. The investigator should ensure that trial data are accurate, complete, and verifiable, and that all data are recorded and stored in a secure manner. The investigator should ensure that the trial is conducted in accordance with the approved budget and that all trial-related expenses are appropriate and documented. The investigator should ensure that any conflicts of interest are disclosed and managed appropriately. Overall, the investigator plays a crucial role in ensuring that clinical trials are conducted ethically and that the data generated are accurate and reliable. The investigator must have the necessary qualifications and experience to conduct the trial, and must take responsibility for all aspects of the trial, including the safety and welfare of trial subjects. Sponsor responsibilities. The following are the responsibilities of the sponsor as outlined in ICH-GCP. Design and develop the clinical trial protocol and ensure that it is scientifically sound, feasible, and compliant with regulatory requirements. Obtain all necessary regulatory and ethical approvals before starting the clinical trial. Provide the investigational product, including its formulation, packaging, labeling, and shipping, in accordance with applicable regulations and guidelines. Ensure that the investigational product is used only in accordance with the protocol and applicable laws and regulations. Select and provide adequate resources for the conduct of the clinical trial, including qualified personnel, facilities, and equipment. Provide appropriate training to all trial personnel, including investigators, sub-investigators, and site staff. Ensure that trial subjects are appropriately informed about the trial, including its risks and benefits, and that they provide voluntary and informed consent. Ensure that trial subjects are appropriately informed about the trial, including its risks and benefits, and that they provide voluntary and informed consent. Ensure that trial subjects are eligible to participate in the trial and that they meet all inclusion and exclusion criteria. Ensure that the trial is conducted in compliance with the protocol, applicable laws and regulations, and good clinical practice. Monitor the conduct of the trial, including the progress of the trial, the safety and welfare of trial subjects, and the quality and integrity of the data generated. Ensure that any adverse events are reported to the regulatory authorities, IRB, and investigators as required. Ensure that trial data are accurate, complete, and verifiable, and that they are recorded and stored in a secure manner. Ensure that any deviations from the protocol or applicable regulations and guidelines are documented, investigated, and reported as required. Ensure that the trial is completed on time, within budget, and in accordance with regulatory requirements and guidelines. Overall, the sponsor plays a crucial role in ensuring that clinical trials are conducted ethically, safely, and in compliance with regulatory requirements and guidelines. The sponsor must take responsibility for all aspects of the trial, from the design and development of the protocol to the monitoring and reporting of trial data. Essential documents. Essential documents in clinical research refer to the documents that provide written evidence of the conduct of a clinical trial and the data collected during the study. These documents are critical for ensuring that the trial is conducted in compliance with applicable regulatory requirements, and that the study data is accurate, complete, and verifiable. Some essential documents in clinical research include Protocol. The study protocol outlines the objectives, design, methodology, statistical considerations, and organization of a clinical trial. It serves as the foundation for the conduct of the trial and provides essential information for the study team, regulatory authorities, and other stakeholders. Informed consent documents. The informed consent documents provide information about the study, the risks and benefits of participation, and the rights of study participants. The documents must be reviewed and signed by each participant or their legally authorized representative. Investigator's brochure. The investigator's brochure provides information about the investigational product used in the clinical trial, including its pharmacology, toxicology, and clinical data. Case report forms, CRFs. Case report forms are the primary source of data collection in a clinical trial. They capture the data collected during the trial, including study procedures, adverse events, and other relevant data. Source documents. Source documents provide the original data collected during the trial, such as medical records, laboratory reports, and other documents that support the data entered on the CRFs. Monitoring reports. Monitoring reports document the monitoring activities conducted during the trial, including the results of site visits, data quality checks, and any corrective actions taken. Investigational product accountability records. Investigational product accountability records document the receipt, dispensing, and use of the investigational product during the trial. Audit and inspection reports. Audit and inspection reports provide evidence of the regulatory oversight of the trial, including any deficiencies identified and corrective actions taken. These essential documents are critical for ensuring the integrity and accuracy of the data collected during a clinical trial, and for demonstrating compliance with applicable regulatory requirements. ICH-GCP, section number 8, explains about essential documents required before the clinical phase of the trial commences during the clinical conduct of the trial, after completion or termination of the trial. What is clinical research? Clinical research is a branch of medical science that involves the investigation of the safety and effectiveness of new medical treatments, devices, and interventions on human subjects. The aim of clinical research is to improve human health by developing new therapies, identifying potential risks associated with these therapies, and evaluating their benefits in a rigorous and controlled manner. Clinical research is a collaborative effort involving a wide range of professionals, including researchers, clinicians, regulatory authorities, and ethics committees. The results of clinical research have the potential to greatly impact patient care and can lead to the development of new and more effective treatments for a wide range of medical conditions. Clinical research process. The clinical research process is a systematic approach to conducting scientific studies to evaluate the safety, efficacy, and effectiveness of medical interventions, including drugs, devices, procedures, and other treatments. The process typically involves the following stages. Clinical research process starts with study design. This stage involves developing a research question, selecting a study population, determining the appropriate study design, and defining the outcomes of interest. Next stage will be protocol development. The protocol is a detailed plan that outlines the study procedures, eligibility criteria, treatment interventions, data collection methods, and statistical analyses. Regulatory approval. Before conducting the study, researchers must obtain regulatory approval from relevant authorities, such as the FDA or Institutional Review Boards, IRBs. Participant recruitment. Once the study is approved, researchers must recruit and enroll participants who meet the eligibility criteria. Informed consent. Before participating in the study, participants must provide informed consent, which involves understanding the risks and benefits of the study and agreeing to participate voluntarily. Data collection. During the study, researchers collect data on the outcomes of interest, using various methods, such as surveys, medical tests, and clinical assessments. Data analysis. After collecting the data, researchers use statistical analyses to evaluate the safety, efficacy, and effectiveness of the treatment interventions. Publication. The results of the study are typically published in peer-reviewed scientific journals, which helps to disseminate the findings and inform clinical practice. In final process will be follow-up. After the study is completed, researchers may conduct follow-up studies to assess the long-term effects of the treatment interventions and to monitor safety and efficacy. Phases of clinical research and purpose of conducting clinical research in phases. Clinical research is conducted in phases to evaluate the safety and effectiveness of new medical treatments, devices, or interventions in human subjects. There are typically 4, rarely 5, phases of clinical research. Why clinical research is conducted in several phases. Managing complexity. Research projects can be complex and involve multiple components. Conducting research in phases allows researchers to break down the project into manageable pieces, making it easier to plan, execute, and monitor each stage. Refining research questions. As researchers gather data and analyze it, they may discover new questions or insights that require additional investigation. Conducting research in phases allows for these adjustments to be made, ensuring that the research stays focused and relevant. Identifying gaps in knowledge. Conducting research in phases allows researchers to identify gaps in knowledge or understanding that may require additional research or exploration. This can help to ensure that the research is comprehensive and informative. Reducing risk. Conducting research in phases can help to mitigate the risk of failure or unexpected outcomes. By breaking the project down into manageable pieces, researchers can identify potential issues early and adjust their approach accordingly. Maximizing resources. Conducting research in phases can help to ensure that resources are used efficiently and effectively. By focusing on one aspect of the research at a time, researchers can make the most of their time, funding, and other resources. Phase 0. Exploratory studies involving very small doses of a drug, usually in healthy volunteers, to gather initial data on its pharmacokinetics and pharmacodynamics. Phase 1. This phase involves testing the drug or treatment in a small group of people, usually 20 to 80, to evaluate its safety, dosage range, and potential side effects. Phase 2. In this phase, the drug or treatment is administered to a larger group of people, usually several hundred, to assess its efficacy and safety further. This phase helps determine the most effective dose and identify potential adverse effects. Phase 3. This phase involves testing the drug or treatment in a large group of people, often thousands, to confirm its efficacy, monitor side effects, and compare it with existing treatments or standard care. Phase 4. This phase is conducted after a drug or treatment has been approved for use by regulatory authorities. It involves post-marketing surveillance to monitor long-term safety, side effects, and effectiveness in a broader patient population. Who is Clinical Research Associate? A clinical research associate, CRA, is a professional who plays a key role in clinical research studies. CRA is responsible for monitoring clinical trials, ensuring that they are conducted in compliance with protocols, regulations, and good clinical practice (GCP) guidelines. Clinical research associates work with a variety of stakeholders, including study sponsors, investigators, clinical site staff, and regulatory authorities. They may work in pharmaceutical companies, contract research organizations, academic institutions, or other organizations that conduct clinical trials. The primary role of a CRA is to oversee the progress of a clinical trial from the start to the end. This involves tasks such as site selection, site initiation, monitoring, and site closeout. They also help to ensure that patient safety is maintained throughout the study, and that the data collected is accurate and complete. I will explain each task in detail on next module under Monitoring section. Qualifications required to become a clinical research associate. To become a CRA, a person typically needs to have a bachelor's degree, master's degree or PhD in a related field such as biology, pharmacology, nursing or any life science degree, as well as relevant work experience in clinical research. Having CRA certification is add value to find the job. Background qualifications of clinical research associates includes medical doctors, with any specialty, PhD holders, dentists, nurses, pharmacists, physical therapists, any life science graduates, and biomedical engineers. Roles and responsibilities of a typical clinical research associate. Monitoring clinical trials. The primary role of a CRA is to ensure that clinical trials are conducted in accordance with applicable regulatory requirements, standard operating procedures, and study protocols. They monitor and verify the accuracy and completeness of clinical trial data and ensure that patient safety is maintained. Site management. CRAs are responsible for ensuring that clinical trial sites have the necessary resources to conduct the trial effectively. They are responsible for site selection, site initiation, and site closeout. They also ensure that the site staff is trained and compliant with the study protocol. Investigational product management. CRAs are responsible for managing investigational products used in clinical trials, including drug accountability and tracking of drug supply. They also ensure that the investigational product is stored, transported, and used according to the study protocol. Data management. CRAs are responsible for collecting, reviewing, and verifying clinical trial data. They ensure that all data is accurate, complete, and timely. They also review and resolve data discrepancies and queries. Communication. CRAs communicate with study sites, study sponsors, and other stakeholders to ensure that the clinical trial is conducted effectively. They provide study updates and answer queries from study sites. Compliance. CRAs ensure that the clinical trial complies with applicable regulatory requirements, such as the International Conference on Harmonization, ICH, guidelines, Good Clinical Practice, GCP, guidelines, and other applicable regulations. Record keeping. CRAs are responsible for maintaining accurate and complete records of all clinical trial activities, including site visits, monitoring reports, and study documentation. Training. CRAs are responsible for training site staff on the study protocol, applicable regulations, and standard operating procedures. They also provide ongoing support and training to ensure that the site staff is compliant with the study protocol. In summary, CRAs play a critical role in the conduct of clinical trials by ensuring that they are conducted in compliance with applicable regulations and study protocols. They monitor clinical trial data and ensure patient safety while communicating effectively with stakeholders and maintaining accurate records. What is monitoring in clinical research? Monitoring in clinical research refers to the process of overseeing the conduct of a clinical trial to ensure that the trial is being conducted according to the study protocol, Good Clinical Practice, GCP, and applicable regulatory requirements. The goal of monitoring is to ensure that the safety, rights, and well-being of the study participants are protected, and that the data collected is accurate and reliable. The purposes of clinical trial monitoring are to make sure that the rights and well-being of human participants are protected. The reported trial data are accurate, complete, and verifiable from source documents, records of clinical findings, observations, or other activities in a clinical trial. The conduct of the trial is in compliance with the protocol, with GCP, Good Clinical Practice, and with the applicable regulatory requirements. Some key components of monitoring in clinical research. Pre-study visit. Before the study begins, the monitor will visit the study site to ensure that the site is suitable for the study and that the study staff are trained and equipped to conduct the trial. Site initiation visit. Once the study begins, the monitor will conduct a site initiation visit to review the study protocol and procedures with the study staff, and to ensure that the study site is ready to enroll participants. Monitoring visits. The monitor will conduct regular visits to the study site to review the progress of the study, ensure that the study procedures are being followed, and collect data and source documents to verify the accuracy and completeness of the study data. Data management. The monitor will review the study data to ensure that it is accurate and complete, and that it meets the requirements of the study protocol and regulatory authorities. Safety monitoring. The monitor will review adverse event reports and ensure that appropriate actions are taken to protect the safety of study participants. Close-out visit. Once the study is complete, the monitor will conduct a close-out visit to ensure that all study-related documents are complete and accurate, and that the study site is prepared for the final audit. In summary, monitoring is a critical component of clinical research that ensures the safety and well-being of study participants, and the accuracy and reliability of the study data. I will explain the ICH tasks in detail on upcoming lectures. Monitoring during pre-qualification of sites and investigators. During pre-qualification, sponsor, CRO selects the site and investigators through referrals and recommendations and various databases like drugdev.org, investigators database, recommendation from experienced clinical research associates and other experienced investigators. Required documents to be completed at this will be investigator interest questionnaire, which should duly completed by investigator, site. Monitoring during feasibility. During feasibility stage, once site or investigator is pre-qualified, signed CDA, confidentiality disclosure agreement, will be obtained from the site. Sponsor or CRO will provide more information to the site, including protocol synopsis. Required documents to be completed at this stage, CDA, confidentiality disclosure agreement, duly signed by site or investigator will be obtained. Monitoring during pre-site selection visit. A pre-site selection visit is a crucial step in the clinical research process. It is a preliminary visit that is conducted by the sponsor or contract research organization to assess the suitability of a potential clinical trial site before selecting it for the study. During the pre-site selection visit, clinical research associates typically meet with the principal investigator, PI, and research staff to discuss the study protocol, review the facilities and equipment, and evaluate the site's capabilities to perform the study. The visit may also include a review of the site's regulatory compliance, patient population, and recruitment potential. The purpose of the pre-site selection visit is to identify any potential issues or challenges that may impact the successful completion of the clinical trial. By assessing the site's capabilities and resources in advance, the sponsor or CRO can make an informed decision about whether the site is suitable for the study and, if so, what additional support may be required to ensure its success. Overall, the pre-site selection visit is an important step in the clinical research process that helps to ensure the smooth and efficient conduct of clinical trials, ultimately leading to the development of safe and effective treatments for patients. The CRA usually will prepare pre-site selection visit report by updating the feasibility assessment and including all the observations. Sponsor will take the decision about selection of sites or investigators after reviewing the report. Required documents to be completed: current organizational chart and proposed management of the study, list of generic clinical trials, overall and completed recently, copies of any publications by research staff relevant to clinical study under consideration, copies of current medical licenses and laboratory certification, if applicable, sample source documentation of subject participation in a clinical study, estimate of the number of potential study subjects, proposed recruitment strategy, including primary and secondary resources. Monitoring during site initiation visit. A site initiation visit, SIV, is a crucial step in the clinical trial process where the sponsor or contract research organization, CRO, meets with the study site staff to formally initiate the study at the site. The purpose of the SIV is to ensure that the site is prepared and has the necessary infrastructure, resources, and personnel to conduct the clinical trial in accordance with the study protocol and applicable regulatory requirements. During the SIV, CRAs typically reviews the study protocol and procedures with the site staff, including the requirements for informed consent, patient eligibility criteria, study visit schedules, and data collection procedures. The sponsor or CRO may also provide training on the use of study equipment, handling and storage of study drug or devices, and adverse event reporting. The SIV may also include a review of the site's standard operating procedures and quality control measures to ensure that they are consistent with the study requirements. The sponsor or CRO may also conduct a site inspection to ensure that the facilities, equipment, and personnel meet the study requirements and that the site has the necessary resources to conduct the study. Overall, the SIV is a critical step in the clinical trial process that helps to ensure that the study is conducted in accordance with the study protocol and regulatory requirements. It provides an opportunity for the sponsor or CRO and the site staff to collaborate, communicate expectations, and identify any issues or concerns that may impact the study's success. The below required documents to be completed at this stage: Site Initiation Visit Report, Delegation Log, Training Log, Site Visit Log. Other essential documents, if it's pending to be collected, like CV, valid GCP certificates for site team, medical licenses. Site Initiation Visit, SIV, Report. The CRA usually will prepare Site Initiation Visit Report. The SIV monitoring report includes Introduction. The introduction provides a brief overview of the purpose of the visit, the study background, and the team members present during the visit. Study site information. This section includes information about the study site, such as the location, facilities, and equipment available. Study staff information. This section includes information about the study staff, such as their qualifications, roles and responsibilities, and training status. Protocol compliance. This section evaluates whether the study site is able to comply with the study protocol requirements. This includes reviewing the informed consent process, the screening and enrollment procedures, and the study visit schedules. Regulatory compliance. This section evaluates whether the study site is complying with regulatory requirements. This includes reviewing the study site's Institutional Review Board, IRB, approval, the site's regulatory binder, and the study site's adherence to GCP guidelines. Source documentation. This section evaluates whether the source documentation is complete, accurate, and up to date. This includes reviewing the informed consent forms, case report forms, and other study documents. Action items. This section lists any actions that need to be taken by the study site to address any issues or concerns raised during the visit. Overall, the SIV monitoring report is a crucial document that provides a summary of the study site's readiness to conduct the clinical trial. The report provides guidance to the study site on any areas that need improvement and outlines the corrective actions that need to be taken. The report also serves as a reference document for the sponsor or CRO during the monitoring process to ensure that the study site is compliant with the protocol, regulatory requirements, and GCP guidelines. Monitoring during interim monitoring visits. An interim monitoring visit, IMV, is a type of monitoring visit conducted during a clinical trial to assess the progress of the study and ensure that the study is being conducted in accordance with the protocol, applicable regulatory requirements, and good clinical practice, GCP, guidelines. The IMV typically occurs after the start of patient enrollment and before the completion of the study. During an IMV, CRAs will typically perform the following activities. Verify protocol compliance. The monitor will review the study protocol and assess whether the study is being conducted in accordance with the protocol requirements. This includes reviewing the informed consent process, the screening and enrollment procedures, and the study visit schedules. Data review. The monitor will review the case report forms, CRFs, to ensure that the data collected is complete, accurate, and timely. They will also verify that the data entered into the CRFs matches the source documentation. Adverse event reporting. The monitor will review the adverse event, AE, reporting process to ensure that all AEs are being reported and documented correctly, and that appropriate follow-up actions are taken. Investigational product accountability. The monitor will review the study site's inventory of the investigational product to ensure that it is being stored and dispensed properly, and that the inventory is accurately documented. Regulatory compliance. The monitor will review the regulatory documentation to ensure that the study site is complying with applicable regulatory requirements. Site staff training. The monitor will verify that study staff have been trained on the study protocol, applicable regulations, and GCP guidelines. Site-specific procedures. The monitor will review site-specific standard operating procedures to ensure that they are being followed, and that they are in compliance with GCP guidelines. At the end of the IMV, the monitor will typically provide a report summarizing their findings, including any issues or concerns that need to be addressed. This report will also include any corrective actions that need to be taken to address any identified issues. The IMV report is an important document that can help ensure the integrity of the clinical trial and the quality of the data collected. Below required documents to be completed at this stage: site monitoring visit report. Updated site visit log. Other essential documents, if it's pending to be collected, like CVs, valid GCP certificates for site team, medical licenses, delegation log, if there is any changes in site staff, site training log, if there is any additional training provided after SIV. Let's look site monitoring visit, SMV, report in detail. The CRA usually will prepare site monitoring visit, SMV, report. The IMV report typically includes the following sections. Study overview. This section provides a brief overview of the clinical trial, including the study objectives, methodology, and enrollment status. Monitoring visit details. This section includes details about the IMV, including the visit dates, the study site visited, and the monitor or sponsor representative who conducted the visit. Protocol compliance. This section summarizes the monitor's assessment of the study site's compliance with the study protocol. It may include findings related to the informed consent process, the screening and enrollment procedures, and the study visit schedules. Data review. This section provides a summary of the monitor's review of the case report forms, CRFs, and other study documentation. It may include findings related to data completeness, accuracy, and timeliness, as well as any discrepancies between the CRFs and the source documentation. Adverse event reporting. This section summarizes the monitor's review of the adverse event, AE, reporting process. It may include findings related to AE documentation, reporting timelines, and follow-up actions. Investigational product accountability. This section summarizes the monitor's review of the study site's inventory of the investigational product. It may include findings related to storage and dispensing procedures, inventory documentation, and product accountability. Regulatory compliance. This section summarizes the monitor's review of the regulatory documentation. It may include findings related to IRB approval, financial disclosure forms, and other applicable regulatory documents. Site staff training. This section summarizes the monitor's assessment of study staff training. It may include findings related to training records, staff competency, and ongoing training needs. Site-specific procedures. This section summarizes the monitor's review of site-specific standard operating procedures. It may include findings related to SOP compliance and effectiveness. Corrective actions. This section outlines any corrective actions that were identified during the IMV. It may include specific recommendations for addressing any deficiencies or issues identified during the visit. The IMV report is an important document that can help ensure the integrity of the clinical trial and the quality of the data collected. It is typically shared with the study site, the study sponsor, and regulatory authorities as part of the overall monitoring and reporting process. Site closeout visit. A site closeout (SCO) visit is a type of monitoring visit conducted at the end of a clinical trial, after all data has been collected and all study procedures have been completed. The SCO visit is typically conducted by the monitor or sponsor representative who has been overseeing the study, and its purpose is to ensure that all study-related documents are complete, accurate, and in compliance with good clinical practice (GCP) guidelines and applicable regulations. During a site closeout visit, CRA typically performs the following activities. Review of essential documents. The monitor reviews all essential documents related to the study, including the study protocol, informed consent forms, case report forms, and other regulatory documents. They will ensure that these documents are complete, accurate, and in compliance with GCP guidelines and applicable regulations. Verification of study data. The monitor verifies that all study data has been collected and entered into the case report forms accurately and completely. They will also verify that the data matches the source documentation. Investigational product accountability. The monitor reviews the inventory of the investigational product to ensure that it has been accounted for, stored properly, and disposed of in accordance with applicable regulations. Adverse event reporting. The monitor reviews all adverse events, AEs, that were reported during the study to ensure that they were documented properly and that appropriate follow-up actions were taken. Financial disclosures. The monitor ensures that all financial disclosures related to the study have been properly documented and disclosed. Training records. The monitor verifies that all study personnel involved in the study have received appropriate training and that training records are complete. Archiving of study documents. The monitor ensures that all study-related documents are properly archived and stored in accordance with applicable regulations. Below required documents to be completed at this stage. Site Closeout Visit, SCV. Report. Fully completed and signed delegation log. Fully completed and signed site visit log. All other missing essential documents if any. Site Closeout Visit Report. CRA usually will prepare Site Closeout Visit Report. The SCV report typically includes the following sections. Study Overview. This section provides a brief overview of the clinical trial, including the study objectives, methodology, and enrollment status. Monitoring Visit Details. This section includes details about the SCV including the visit dates, the study site visited, and the monitor or sponsor representative who conducted the visit. Protocol Compliance. This section summarizes the monitor's assessment of the study site's compliance with the study protocol. It may include findings related to the informed consent process, the screening and enrollment procedures, and the study visit schedules. Data Review. This section provides a summary of the monitor's review of the case report forms, CRFs, and other study documentation. It may include findings related to data completeness, accuracy, and timeliness, as well as any discrepancies between the CRFs and the source documentation. Adverse Event Reporting. This section summarizes the monitor's review of the adverse event, AE, reporting process. It may include findings related to AE documentation, reporting timelines, and follow-up actions. Investigational Product Accountability. This section summarizes the monitor's review of the study site's inventory of the investigational product. It may include findings related to storage and dispensing procedures, inventory documentation, and product accountability. Regulatory Compliance. This section summarizes the monitor's review of the regulatory documentation. It may include findings related to IRB approval, financial disclosure forms, and other applicable regulatory documents. Site Staff Training. This section summarizes the monitor's assessment of study staff training. It may include findings related to training records, staff competency, and ongoing training needs. Archiving of study documents. This section summarizes the monitor's assessment of the archiving and storage of study-related documents. Corrective actions. This section outlines any corrective actions that were identified during the SCV. It may include specific recommendations for addressing any deficiencies or issues identified during the visit. In summary, the SCV report is an important document that can help ensure the integrity of the clinical trial and the quality of the data collected. It is typically shared with the study site, the study sponsor, and regulatory authorities as part of the overall monitoring and reporting process. Adverse events reporting. Adverse event (AE) reporting is an essential aspect of clinical trials. An AE is any untoward medical occurrence in a clinical trial participant, including any unfavorable or unintended sign, symptom, or disease that occurs during the study, whether or not it is considered to be related to the investigational product or intervention being studied. Reporting of adverse events in clinical trials is crucial for several reasons. Safety. AE reporting ensures that the safety of study participants is monitored and any potential harm from the intervention is identified. Data quality. AE reporting helps to ensure the quality of trial data by providing information on any potential confounding variables that may be affecting the study outcome. Regulatory compliance. AE reporting is mandatory for regulatory compliance, and non-compliance can result in sanctions, fines, or even the termination of the trial. To ensure accurate and comprehensive reporting of adverse events, clinical trials typically have standardized procedures for capturing and reporting AE data. The procedures include the definition of adverse events, methods of AE assessment, and the frequency and format of AE reporting. Additionally, the trial protocol usually outlines specific guidelines for reporting adverse events, such as the time frame for reporting, the severity criteria, and the expected actions to be taken in response to AE. Finally, it's important to note that AE reporting is an ongoing process throughout the trial. The trial investigators must continuously monitor participants for AE, report any new AE promptly, and ensure that any necessary actions are taken to protect the safety of participants. Progress report submissions. Progress report submission is a critical component of clinical research. It involves the regular submission of updates on the progress of a clinical trial to regulatory authorities, institutional review boards, IRB, and other stakeholders involved in the study. Progress reports provide a summary of the trial's status, including the number of participants enrolled, adverse events reported, and any changes made to the study protocol. They also include updates on data analysis, results, and any other significant findings that may impact the study's outcome. The frequency of progress report submission varies depending on the regulations and requirements of the regulatory authorities and IRBs overseeing the study. Typically, progress reports are submitted every 6 months or annually, depending on the stage of the clinical trial. In addition to regular progress reports, investigators are also required to submit interim reports for significant events that may affect the study's outcome. These events may include significant safety concerns, changes in the study protocol, or changes to the study's objectives. Submitting timely and accurate progress reports is essential in clinical research as it helps ensure the safety and well-being of study participants and the integrity of the study's data. It also helps researchers and regulatory authorities make informed decisions about the study's continuation, modification, or termination. In summary, progress report submission is a critical aspect of clinical research that ensures the transparency and accuracy of the study's progress and results. It helps stakeholders involved in the study make informed decisions about the safety and efficacy of investigational products or procedures. File notes. A file note in clinical research is a written record of an important communication or event related to a clinical trial. It is a document that captures important details, such as dates, times, and the context of the event. File notes are used to document conversations, meetings, or any other interactions related to the study that may have an impact on the study's progress, outcome, or regulatory compliance. File notes are a crucial component of clinical research as they help maintain the integrity and transparency of the study's documentation. They provide an accurate and detailed account of events, which can be used to support decisions made by researchers, regulatory authorities, and institutional review boards, IRB. In clinical research, file notes may include details of conversations with study participants, adverse events, protocol deviations, or changes to the study's design. File notes can also be used to document discussions among study staff, such as those related to protocol amendments, data analysis, or data monitoring. File notes should be clear, concise, and accurate. They should include specific details such as names, dates, times, and a description of the communication or event. File notes should also be signed and dated by the person who made the record to confirm its accuracy. Overall, file notes are essential in clinical research as they provide a detailed and accurate record of events related to the study. They help ensure the transparency and integrity of the study's documentation and can be used to support regulatory compliance and decision-making. Study Binder, Investigator Site File, an Investigator Site Binder, ISB, is a comprehensive document that contains all essential study-related materials required by the investigator and study team at a clinical trial site. It is a compilation of all the documents and records necessary to conduct the study in compliance with the protocol, regulatory requirements, and good clinical practice, GCP, guidelines. The ISB serves as a centralized resource for the study team to access all relevant study-related documents, such as the protocol, informed consent forms, regulatory approvals, study drug accountability records, source documents, case report forms, and monitoring reports. It also includes documentation of training received by the study team and evidence of their qualifications to conduct the study. Contents. The contents of an ISB may vary depending on the study protocol and sponsor requirements. Typically, an ISB is organized into sections and includes a table of contents for easy reference. Some of the common sections include study protocol and amendments, informed consent forms and assent forms, if applicable, regulatory and ethics committee approvals, investigator and site personnel curriculum vitae, CVs, and licenses, financial disclosure and conflict of interest forms. Study drug accountability records, source documents and case report forms, CRF, adverse event reporting forms and safety reports, monitoring reports and audit trail documentation, training and qualification documentation. The ISB is an essential tool in clinical research as it helps ensure that the study is conducted in compliance with the protocol, regulatory requirements, and GCP guidelines. It provides a central repository of study-related documents for the study team and helps facilitate study conduct and monitoring. Informed consent forms. An informed consent form, ICF, is a written document used in clinical research to inform potential study participants about the study and obtain their voluntary agreement to participate. The ICF is a critical document in the research process as it provides study participants with all the necessary information they need to make an informed decision about whether to participate in the study or not. The ICF typically contains information such as the purpose of the study procedures, the potential risks and benefits of participating, the participants' rights and responsibilities, and the procedures for withdrawing from the study. The ICF should also explain how the participants' data will be collected, used, and protected. Additionally, the ICF must include contact information for the study team, including the principal investigator and the study coordinator. The ICF should be written in clear, concise language that is easy for the participant to understand. It should be written at a reading level that is appropriate for the intended audience, and any technical or medical terms should be defined clearly. Before participating in the study, the participant must sign the ICF to indicate their voluntary agreement to participate. In some cases, the participant may be asked to provide written consent by a witness or provide verbal consent recorded by the study team. The ICF is an essential document in clinical research as it helps protect the rights and welfare of study participants. It ensures that participants are fully informed about the study and have given their voluntary consent to participate. It also provides a record of the informed consent process, which can be used to demonstrate regulatory compliance in case of an audit or inspection. A case report form, CRF, is a document used in clinical trials to collect and record data from each study participant. It is a structured document designed to capture specific information related to the study protocol, such as demographics, medical history, laboratory values, adverse events, and study drug administration. The CRF is an essential tool in clinical trials as it provides a standardized format for collecting data from all study participants. This standardization helps ensure that the data collected are consistent and reliable and can be used to analyze the results of the study. The CRF is typically developed by the study sponsor or a contract research organization, CRO, and is approved by the study investigator and the ethics committee. The CRF is usually divided into sections that correspond to the various aspects of the study protocol. Each section includes a set of questions or prompts designed to elicit specific information about the participant. For example, the demographics section may include questions about age, gender, and race, while the medical history section may ask about previous medical conditions and medications. Data are typically recorded on the CRF by the study coordinator or other study staff responsible for data collection. The data must be accurate, complete, and legible, and the CRF must be updated in real time or as close to the time of the event as possible. The CRF is an essential document in clinical trials and is used to collect data that are used to support regulatory submissions and scientific publications. It also provides a record of the study conduct and can be used to demonstrate regulatory compliance during inspections and audits. Case report form versus electronic case report form. A case report form, CRF, is a paper-based or electronic document used to collect and record study data in clinical trials. An electronic case report form, CRF, is a digital version of the CRF that is used for electronic data capture. Some key differences between the two. Format. Traditional case report form is a paper-based form that is typically filled out by the study team during study visits, while electronic case report form is an electronic form that is accessed and completed using a computer or tablet. Accessibility. Traditional case report form is typically stored in a physical file, while an electronic case report form is stored electronically on a secure server, making it more accessible and easier to manage. Data collection. A traditional case report form is usually completed by hand and may require manual data entry into a computer system, while an electronic case report form allows for direct data entry and can often be pre-populated with study data, reducing the potential for errors. Data management. An electronic case report form allows for real-time data entry, data validation, and data cleaning, making it easier to monitor data quality and completeness. Additionally, an electronic case report form can be programmed to generate automated queries to study staff when data discrepancies are detected, allowing for more timely resolution of data issues. Security. An electronic case report form can be configured with role-based access controls and audit trails, providing a more secure environment for study data. Overall, electronic case report form offers several advantages over traditional paper case report form, including improved data quality and completeness, more efficient data management, and enhanced security. However, electronic case report form also require additional technology infrastructure and staff training, and may not be suitable for all clinical trial settings. ALCOA, ALCOA, Principle. ALCOA is an acronym used in clinical research to describe the characteristics of data that are considered reliable and trustworthy. The acronym stands for as below. First letter, A, stands for attributable. The data should be attributable to the person who generated it, with a clear indication of who recorded the data, when, and where. L stands for legible. The data should be easily readable and understandable. C stands for contemporaneous. The data should be recorded in real time or as close to the time of the event as possible. O stands for original. The data should be original and recorded in the form in which it was collected. Final letter, A, stands for accurate. The data should be accurate, complete, and truthful, with no alteration or manipulation. The ALCOA principles help ensure the integrity and reliability of clinical trial data by emphasizing the importance of accurate, complete, and trustworthy data collection and documentation. The principles also help ensure that the data can be used to support regulatory submissions and scientific publications. In clinical research, the ALCOA principles are commonly used to guide the documentation and recording of study data, such as case report forms, source documents, and electronic data capture systems. By adhering to the ALCOA principles, researchers can ensure that the data collected during the study are reliable, accurate, and can be used to support the conclusions drawn from the study. Protocol deviation and violation. Protocol deviation in clinical trials refers to any departure from the study protocol that may impact the safety of the study participants or the accuracy and reliability of the study data. Protocol deviations can occur at any stage of the trial, including study design, patient recruitment, data collection, and analysis. Protocol violations, intentional deviations from the study protocol, such as administering the wrong dose of the study drug or changing the study design without proper approval. Examples of protocol deviations may include enrollment of ineligible participants, participants who do not meet the eligibility criteria outlined in the study protocol, failure to follow study procedures, failure to follow the study procedures, including timing and frequency of study visits, study drug administration, or data collection. Missing data, failure to collect complete data for study endpoints, or failure to document any changes or discrepancies. It is essential to document and report protocol deviations promptly to maintain the integrity and accuracy of the study. The study sponsor, the principal investigator, and the Institutional Review Board, IRB, or Ethics Committee, EC, overseeing the study should be informed of any protocol deviations. The study team should also take appropriate corrective action to prevent any further deviations from the study protocol and ensure that the safety and well-being of the study participants are protected. It is also essential to document and report the reason for the protocol deviation, the steps taken to address the deviation, and the impact of the deviation on the study's results, analysis, and interpretation. The study team should implement strategies to minimize the occurrence of protocol deviations, such as training study staff, closely monitoring study procedures, and conducting regular quality checks. Confirmation letter versus follow-up letter. A site visit confirmation letter is sent by the sponsor or the contract research organization, CRO, to the study site before the scheduled site visit. The purpose of the confirmation letter is to confirm the details of the upcoming visit, including the date, time, and location, and to provide a list of items or documents that will be required during the visit. The confirmation letter may also include instructions on how to prepare for the visit and who to contact in case of any questions or concerns. Site follow-up letter is typically sent after the site visit and is used to provide feedback and clarification on any issues or questions that were raised during the visit. The letter may also provide additional information or guidance related to the study, such as updates on study timelines or procedures, or requests for further information or clarification from the site staff. In some cases, the follow-up letter may also include recommendations or requirements for the site to address any issues or concerns that were identified during the visit. Overall, both site visit confirmation letters and site follow-up letters play an important role in ensuring effective communication and collaboration between the study sponsor or CRO and the study site, and in ensuring the successful conduct of clinical trials. Wow! Finally you made it! Congratulations! I am looking forward to your feedback about this course, and it will be helpful for me to improve. Thank you and all the best.